with info about the re-release of the greatest docuVENTary of all time. It's Talk for Two. Hey everyone, I'm Matt Bailey, and welcome in on this Monday before Venthaven. It's just 2 days away. I'm really excited. I want to give a quick shout out to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. You can hear more about them at the end of the show. Now, I also have some quick things for you today before we jump into the interview. I know it's unique, but it's very important, and I want to get it out at the top of the show. It has to do with Venthaven. You know I am conducting interviews at the convention, and I want you. Yes, I have people that I'm reaching out to, people that I can really only get to at Venthaven, but that includes you. There's a pool of you out there that listen that are really only out there that I can touch base with through social media and through Venthaven. So I want to sit down with you. I want a sampling of the convention. So if you haven't signed up for a time, please click the link in this episode description to do so. It's very important, okay? There's the spots are dwindling faster than I'd have expected, and I carved out a lot of them. I carved out a lot of spots to do these interviews at Venthaven. And they're going quick. So go ahead, sign up. I'm really excited about it. I hope that we get a lot. And actually, to that point, depending upon how much not depending upon how much we get, but I'm anticipating that we get a lot. So those episodes will begin the following Monday, the 27th, not the Monday immediate after the convention, the following Monday, July 27th. We leave for home as a family on the Sunday, and we get home really late, and I just as soon put up an already completed interview and episode than do a rush job for you guys from the convention in time for the 20th. That's not fair. I want to take a survey of what I get, and we'll get to that a week after the convention, all right? Now let's get to it. Our guest today is filmmaker Bryan W. Simon. You may remember Bryan came on in December with Jay Johnson to talk about the filmed performance of Jay's Tony-winning show, The Two and Only. And of course, Bryan was the perfect choice for that project because of his other big hit, I'm No Dummy. It is literally the best documentary on ventriloquism available. I love it. I've watched it so many times. I don't even think Bryan knows. As some of you may know, I'm No Dummy is being re-released in September as a 2-disc set, and you can pre-order now at Amazon.com. However, what you may not know is that Bryan is coming to Venthaven, and it has to do with the re-release of I'm No Dummy. And he actually has a big reveal about why he's coming to Venthaven at the very top of our interview. Now, let's get to it, but I got to say, stay tuned after the interview because I got a big thank you for you guys. But right now, let's get to it with his big announcement. Here's our interview with Bryan W. Simon. All right, Bryan W. Simon, welcome back to Talk for Two. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming back. This is great. I told him last week, I teased that you were going to be at the convention last week at the end of the episode, and that's not something you've been much talking about lately. I teased that at the end of Tuesday, but we didn't tell him why you're going to be at convention. Can we tell him why you're going to be at convention?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, you're the first one to make the announcement. Marge and I will be there. And we are rolling out I'm No Dummy at the convention. It's a special thing just for the convention and everybody that attends. Is I'm No Dummy, the special edition, the limited edition 2-disc set, is going to be available for purchase at the convention at a discounted rate.
That's awesome.
So everybody can order I'm No Dummy, the new one, on Amazon, of course.
Yes.
But if you're going to attend the convention, you can get it first. In fact, over 2 months in advance. That doesn't come out till September.
That's incredible.
So we're excited to be there and to share it early with the people that we know and love.
Oh, yes, the ventriloquist. Now, the next question that comes to mind talking about the re-release is why did you decide to do it?
It was interesting. It was kind of a convergence of things. The distribution deal that we had with NBC Universal kind of wound down. It was at the end of the deal. And Doug Zwick from Pop Twist had released, as you know, Jay Johnson, The Two and Only.
Yes, sir.
That Marge and I were involved in. And we were just talking, and he said that he would be interested in keeping it out there and making sure that it's available to the public And then through a conversation, I said, God, I got all this amazing material, and there's people I'd love to showcase and other things I'd like to do. And he goes, let's do a 2-disc set,
Wow.
He said, why not,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm in. I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a great sequence about the Vent Haven Museum.
Yes.
I think it's called Stories and Treasures from the Vent Haven Museum, things that I wanted to put in the DVD itself but didn't. And we can talk a little bit about the length of the DVD and why it was the length it was. And then just some very, eloquent interviews and, as you know, a piece with Terry Fader.
Yes.
That I wanted to share with the public because, I'm No Dummy when it first came out and, when we were shooting it and we were really done with it
Mm-hmm.
is when Terry kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And we did not have a chance to include him. It wouldn't have been possible to then go back and completely recut I'm No Dummy after it was done and ready for release to include Terry. And I always felt really horrible about that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt he should have been a part of it, and now he is. And I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I think it's a way of bringing him in and having him with the great ventriloquists that are in I'm No Dummy.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful interview. He talks about, we've had him on here a couple of times, and he talks about things that I've never even heard him talk about when he sat down with you and he is Winston, and they do the I'm No Dummy thing, and the look on his face, people, when you see the DVD, the look on Terry's face when he does that with Winston, you can tell that he is just so grateful to you and to Marge and to everybody to all you guys at the production company bringing him into the movie. I can tell he loved it.
Well, we're very grateful to Terry that he gave us the time.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Vegas and filmed him there. I did do something different with Terry, which people will now notice after we tell them.
Yes.
Is in the original I'm No Dummy, we used only one camera and intercut between everybody in clips. But with Terry's interview, because it was singular and it was just him, I used 2 cameras so that I could intercut and edit the interview in a way where I wasn't using jump cuts.
Yeah.
And which as a filmmaker yourself,
mm-hmm.
What a jump cut is.
Jump cuts.
And so, I wanted to do that. And so I hope people really, really enjoy Terry's interview because he did. He talked about things that he hadn't talked about before and was very gracious and kind to us. And Winston's just so much fun to be around. And, of course, like every puppet, every partner, he gave us, he teased us about not being on the original I'm No Dummy, and rightfully so.
That's great, yeah. Now, let's talk about that for a second here, because you and I, we were talking before the interview, and you brought up a point I never even thought of. You're one of the only other ones who would understand this. Interviewing a puppet. Yeah, I've only had to do that a couple of times throughout the show, and most recent being Steve Hall and Shotgun Red, and that's always trickier than you might imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, the first interview I did was Willie, Tyler, and Lester. Well, I should say the first puppet interview, the
mm-hmm.
first partner interview.
Yeah,
was Willie, Tyler, and Lester. Obviously, I interviewed Kelly Asbury first, who signed off on us. Mm-hmm. and got the whole ball rolling, and I'm very grateful to Kelly for doing that, for being the experiment, as it were.
Yeah.
But the first puppet I interviewed was Lester, and it was hard. It was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because, seeing them on TV or what, when you see them away and you kind of get the duality of it all and everything. But all of a sudden I had to sit there 5 feet, 4 feet away and interview this figure that on the one hand I know is not real, but 2, I have to treat real, and 3, appears to be real because of how wonderful the ventriloquists are. Mm-hmm. And it was weird. It was just really hard at first. But after that, and even probably halfway through the interview, I got more comfortable and really got it. And by the time I got, to Jay and Bob and and I interviewed, Jeff and his figures. It just really, really rolled. And it became fun. It was an exchange, and that was really gratifying.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And one of the features on the DVD, on the second disc, I got to tell you, everybody, for what we're talking about, it's over 2 hours of extra features. So it's like an entire new movie. It's longer. The cumulative total of these features is longer than the documentary. So one of the features is outtakes with Jay and Bob just gives it to you. I mean, Bob is just hassling you, and it's really, really funny to see, because we know it's Jay, but it's Bob, and you're fighting against the sarcasm.
Yeah, it was interesting. They'll see that these are uncut and uncensored, and you'll be able to catch, if you've seen the documentary first, that there's a couple pieces lifted.
Yeah.
You'll see the same thing twice, but not much. Just a little bit, a few lines here or there that are lifted. But
just for context,
we did 150 hours of interviews and interviewed 52 people. Mm-hmm. And so I have it's Jay and Bob with Darwin and Spalding, and it's kind of fascinating, to just see it uncut, and uncensored.
Yeah.
I kind of went back and forth in my mind whether it should be censored or not.
Yeah.
And you can hear my questions and see the reactions of the figures. And I'm glad I put that in, because people that have seen it, gotten a preview copy, really like that. And you can see the mechanics behind the interview in a lot of ways. So not only is it fun to watch, but it's also a little educational into the process of making a documentary and interviewing.
What was the average length of the interviews?
It really varied. Typically, it was about an hour. An hour with some. Jay, for instance, was the longest, as far as an interview goes. Jay was about 4 hours.
Wow. Oh, my word.
I have so much stuff, and I'm going to be releasing through Facebook, if people want to join us on Facebook.
Yes.
At I'm No Dummy. You just put I'm No Dummy and you'll see us on Facebook. I'm going to be re-releasing a lot of content that we
Very
couldn't.
Cool.
There's just amazing interviews. Tom Ladshaw was a long interview as well. Jay was over 2 days, and I think Tom was over 3 days.
Wow.
Jay was the longest. But Jeff was very long. We were a couple hours at Jeff's house, and then obviously on the road with him. 3 times we went on the road with him, as he just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that was really exciting to watch.
So did you get invited to that?
It just happened before our eyes.
That arena show that's at the end of the original documentary. You followed him to that.
Yeah, that was, I think we were in Sacramento or San Jose, somewhere northern-ish California, and Central California for the last big arenas. We went to like 3 of them with him, and just to kind of show the scope when they see the documentary, we do a, kind of that fast rip through the people coming into the stadium, and it's just amazing. I mean, just to see the place fill up like it was just so much fun.
And that had to be some of the... sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but before that, we were in Cleveland with him, which so it went from the comedy clubs, the 300-seaters, the improvs. Then we went to Cleveland. Jeff said, hey, I'm now doing this. So we flew to Cleveland and filmed a show there. And that was 2,000 seats. And then the next thing you know, I'm in an 8,000-seat arena, 10,000-seat arena with Jeff toward the end. So it was crazy. It was really unbelievable to see this happen and unfold before our eyes.
Well, I got to wonder, those had to be some of the first arenas he did as a headliner. Were you ever with him? Did he ever give you any insight into how he was comprehending it, to what he was thinking about it? Because you're right, you did follow him from the Arguing with Myself, Spark of Insanity stage to playing these, 8,000-seat arenas.
Yeah, it happened fast. I mean, it happened over about a year, because we didn't take long to shoot the documentary.
Right.
And it happened over about the course of a year. And he was shocked by it in a way, but also as, good performers and good entertainers, creative people, whether they're in entertainment or business, it's not that but when you do something, and it was really Ahmed that made it all blow up.
Yeah.
He touched on something that was very, very unique and tapped into our zeitgeist at the time and our fear of terrorism and made fun of it. And Kelly Asbury did the design of Ahmed, as I recall, and Jeff built him and, made him the way he needed to make him. And then it was Ahmed. And so I think in a way, when you kind of see it, you say, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And I think that's the way it occurred to Jeff. I can't answer for him, but that was my impression from speaking with him all along the way. Because, when we went out on the road with him the last time, we were on the tour bus and then on the jet. And so we spent like nearly a week together going to 3 and 4 different locations and shooting. So you sit around and talk sometimes, you know what I mean? You just shoot the breeze. And there's no doubt in my mind that he couldn't have predicted it, but it's not surprising.
Right.
And that's what smart, creative people do, That's just what happens. It's not surprising in a way that Jay Johnson won the Tony Award for his show.
No, it's not.
That you don't know that it's going to go to Broadway, but when it goes to Broadway, you see what happens, and then you don't know that it's going to win the Tony, but it does win the Tony. I hope I'm making sense to the audience.
You are.
But you kind of see this pattern where good things happen to good people who are creative and put themselves out there. And that's the thing I think is important that entertainers and creative people need to know. You've got to put yourself out there, and you've got to keep moving forward, and all these good things will happen. If you're going to keep doing the same material year after year after year, nothing's going to happen. You need to move forward. You need to be like a shark, always constantly moving in the waters.
Yes.
So.
Well, I want to thank you, and I don't know if when you came on to talk about Jay the Two and Only and the DVD, we did something towards the end of 2014. We spoke together about that when that came out. But I don't know if I had a chance to properly thank you for what you did with I'm No Dummy, because it was the first documentary about ventriloquism. If it wasn't the first documentary about Vent, it was certainly the first documentary to treat it respectfully, to not go in with any preconceived notions about what the art form is and that we're a bunch of crazies and all of that stuff. You treated the art with respect, and I'm sure you've been thanked many times over for that, but I just want to go on record here and say thank you. And my curiosity is piqued. Why ventriloquism, and what gave you and you're an intelligent man, you know this, but why'd you decide to not go in and go the typical route? We've talked about this a couple of times. I'm just curious to expound on that for our listeners.
Yeah, sure. Interestingly enough, I'm No Dummy is the first feature-length documentary on ventriloquism. The absolute first. It's in the history books. There were other short docs, little ones, that touched but never really saw the light of day. There were obviously segments on TV magazine shows, where things would, Candace Bergen did something for CBS that included the convention many, many, many years ago. So there were little pieces in this and that. But I'm No Dummy is the first feature-length documentary on ventriloquism. And the thing is that I'm not big on making fun of anything, like ventriloquism or like the variety arts or something like that. And trying to, you could take another route. You could easily make fun of it or make it maudlin or desperate, or you could do all sorts of things to this subject. But that's easy. I mean, that's really easy. And for me, the hard part was the interesting part, which is how do I discuss my themes and not make fun of this art form, which I actually love. I mean, I love ventriloquism, so why make fun of it?
Yeah.
Well, if I love it, then I should talk about it in a way where others will see it in a new light. Maybe they'll love it too. Mm-hmm. And that was difficult. And so for me, I looked at other documentaries, and there's a documentary called The Corporation, which is brilliantly done. And I kind of used that a little bit as a model and said, okay, so if we're going to explore these themes of is, in fact, ventriloquism an art form? Is it or isn't it? And two, is it a dying art form if it is an art form? Mm-hmm. And what is it that you love about it? So I kind of broke everything into chapters and said I'm going to do it in a chapter form and not follow anyone specifically. And that's really where it all kind of came about. And that was tough because I had to, in advance of shooting, because it is a narrative in the traditional way, mm-hmm. I had to plot it all out. I had to know where I was going at every moment, and that's why I also asked almost all the ventriloquists the same basic questions, with different ones pertaining to their figures and to their lives, obviously. Yeah. But I had a basic set of questions, so everybody would discuss the same things, and we'd all kind of move in the same direction. And I did that with Terry. I pulled out an old set of, I think, Jeff or Jay or Willie questions and went through it and pulled the standard questions for Terry, and then also had some others specifically for him. So his interview would fit as well, even though it's not in the documentary, it's on the extras disc. Mm-hmm. It would fit, and he would talk about many of the same things that we all talked about and expound upon them. So,
and that's why I think it feels like, and of course we know it wasn't, but I think that's why it feels like when you put it in there, it was just left on the cutting room floor. You know, just something that, this really could have been part of the movie when it first came out, and I'm glad that you stuck with the style of it.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to do that. I didn't want, the Jimmy Nelson section that's on the extras really kind of sticks with the style. I still do picture-in-picture and cut away to other pieces and clips and everything, and so it's almost like a mini doc on its own with Jimmy and talking about his early life and whatnot. There's a little segment with Jay about why we perceive ventriloquism as being odd or weird, and that I so wanted to put in the documentary, but it just couldn't fit, and it kind of would twist the theme a little bit, so I didn't use that. But I always kept that chunk. Mm-hmm. It was totally cut, and that actually did hit the cutting room floor, and I brought that back, and very happy that I could do a second disc and add that, because Jay's so eloquent in regard to the perception of ventriloquists and ventriloquism.
Was it in?
And so that's there, and that's in the exact same style as the documentary.
Was it in this interview? I know I heard it somewhere, and I swear it was the second disc, but I could be totally wrong. Jay said the ventriloquist will never be the hero in any movie. That he's always archetypical the villain. Was it that interview?
Yeah, I think it is, where he talks about, the kind of the Snidely Whiplash kind of thing, that it just makes sense to have the ventriloquist be the crazy, the schizophrenic, mm-hmm. the weirdo, because of that whole puppet thing.
Right.
And I believe it is in that segment that he talks about that. But mm-hmm. it's possible you also got it from a Jay interview when you talked to him. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
No. I think it is the DVD. And the reason I bring that up is because it resounded with me. The thing about what you've just talked about, that we've talked about a couple of times, is that going that way is easy, especially for a documentary, and that you worked so hard to treat this respectfully, and it's just a great product. It's a really quality movie, and I think it speaks for. It's hard to talk about it because it speaks for itself. For me, I know you can promote it to the hilt, but it speaks for itself when you see it, and you got to see it. You need to get this new re-release. It's incredible. There's the other one that I want to talk about, and then we'll leave the rest of them for them to find on their own. But because this one surprised me, and I think when I mentioned it to you, it surprised you. Jimmy Nelson, the half hour that you have with Jimmy Nelson just telling his story, it was incredible. That right there is worth getting the new DVD. Just to hear Jimmy talk for half an hour is incredible.
Yeah, it's we spent a couple days with Jimmy down in Florida, and just had a wonderful time with him. We became Marge and I and Betty and Jimmy have become very, very good friends. We talk to him often, and his story is just incredible. After the documentary, Marge and I got together and we talked a little bit and said, you know what, Jimmy doesn't have a website, and he really should. And so Marge and I built and we manage JimmyDannyFarfel.com.
Nice.
It's JimmyDannyFarfel.com, and the amount of people that have poured into that website, and when people go to it, they can see clips, they can read about Jimmy, they can hear Betty singing. She was a wonderful singer in the day and really gave up her career to support Jimmy and raise their family. But she was on albums and sang with all the big band, great big bands that were out there. And we've got some music from Betty on the website, and Jimmy's story is incredible, and we're glad it's now preserved on the internet. But the emails that pour into Jimmy, where somebody just Googled him, his website came up, and now they can contact Jimmy and find him. And we're actually thinking, because it's happened over and over and over again now, of adding an extra page, which is fans before and after, where they met Jimmy when they were a child and their puppet, and now they send a picture of themselves with the same puppet, like sitting on their couch. And we're thinking of doing a page where you've got these pictures back to back, 50 years ago and today, kind of a thing or something.
That would be awesome.
And Jimmy's story was preserved so well in a book that Tom Ladshaw and Marge put together. Tom wrote and Marge did the graphics and everything on it, and put it all together about Jimmy's life. And then we have now the website. And as I constantly say, the great Jimmy Nelson. I think he needs to have the word great permanently put in front of his name.
Oh, my
because he is one of the fathers of this art form and changed it in so many ways.
Yes,
and he's one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
Oh, my word. I have a million copies of his instant ventriloquism from Junior Vent University going to the convention, because he'd just show up with boxes of them and he'd just give them to you. He'd introduce himself.
He would just give them away.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even sell them. And he wanted people to learn the technique and to learn it properly of sound substitution that he perfected, and really, really changed the world of ventriloquism. And just his performances are incredible, and he and Betty are two of the sweetest people, and I've said this over and over again, that they make the world a better place one person at a time.
Oh, they do. They do.
They are incredible. They are an incredible couple, and we love them to death, and I'm glad I was able to put all this stuff together on the second disc so people can learn more about him.
Oh, yes. For those of you out there wondering, we have been talking about the special features disc for the last 20 minutes or so, but there's a reason to get the whole movie itself again. One reason, well, there's many reasons because it's an awesome movie, but the main reason for this re-release is Bryan's director's commentary, which I absolutely knocked me out. Didn't put me to sleep, knocked me out. We joke about that. It knocked me over. It was fantastic. Why did you decide to do a director's commentary, and how'd you write it?
It was interesting. It was actually Doug and Marge, Doug Zwick from Pop Twist, and my wife Marge, the producer, said you should do a director's commentary, and I was like, what? And and they were like, no, you should tell the stories and go through this stuff and describe the things and whatnot. And Christopher Lockhart, who I mentioned in the director's commentary,
yes,
he's a producer on my next feature, suggested that I do a director's commentary and teased me mercilessly about it every step of the way. Such a good guy and a great producer. He's the one that if people listen all the way to the end, if you listen to the end, you'll hear me comment on Chris's note. He said, about how I was going to put everybody to sleep. And so I'm hoping people get all the way through the end without falling asleep.
Yeah.
He really said as well, you got to do a director's commentary.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. And I wrote it out. I wrote all my notes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because as opposed to a narrative film
mm-hmm.
where you can talk about the scene in a certain way,
yeah,
like we shot this in the forest in North Carolina, and then the next minute you talk about, we shot this in, Nova Scotia or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't a lot to talk about what's on the screen. They're interviews
mm-hmm.
and there's clips. And so I wanted to bring to it more of the behind the scenes,
mm-hmm.
why the documentary is the way it is,
yeah.
how we shot it, where we went, why I chose to do things a certain way.
And it made the filmmaker and me geek out.
Yeah, and I wanted filmmakers to get something out of it.
Yeah.
And I wanted the general audience to get something out of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really constructed it, and that's just my own personal perfectionism in a way, coming out a little too much perhaps, that I wanted to have some solid notes. Mm-hmm. So we recorded it here in our editing bays, and I recorded it without watching the screen because I know the film inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easy for me to talk about things that I knew would be on the screen, and then it was edited and constructed. And there was very little that wasn't used. And so it's almost, probably 80 minutes of commentary. And the other thing that I wanted to do was, there were some people that really told some eloquent stories that couldn't get into the documentary. Lynn Tresker
mm-hmm.
tells an amazing story of how she really truly became a ventriloquist, not necessarily in her youth and starting, but the day that she said, this is it, this is what I want to do. And I could have told the story easily, but I brought in the audio track of her telling the story because she can obviously tell it better than me.
Yeah.
And Dr. David Goldblatt discussing ventriloquism and the art of ventriloquism in a very eloquent way, and brought in some other people as well. So even though it's me, I kind of feel like the others were there with me as well.
Yeah.
Commenting on the track.
Yeah,
so that's really how it kind of came about, is these people said, you need to do this director's cut. And what's interesting, or not director's cut, but director's commentary. One of the other things I want to do is give a little shout out to Steve-O Schuling, the German ventriloquist.
Yes, Steve-O.
Because Steve-O came to visit us, and I was telling him, I'm trying to figure out what to talk about on my director's commentary. And it got difficult at times. Mm-hmm. Before it really was laid down, and even during the process of laying it down, I just wasn't sure, that it was making sense or what was happening. And he had said to me when he visited us here in Los Angeles, he said, I really, really want to hear your director's commentary. He goes, I really want to hear that. And I kind of kept that in my mind, and I didn't want to disappoint him.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, between Marge and Chris and Doug, and then Steve-O Schuling saying, I want to hear this, I didn't stop. I pushed straight through and made sure that I completed it and had it there, because we were really running up against a deadline to have them ready for the convention and even ready for the re-release. And the last thing was the director's commentary.
Awesome.
And so there was a moment where I was like, I'm going to abandon this. I mean, who cares? But it was those people kind of in the back of my mind. I don't want to disappoint them.
Well, if I can maybe speak to their mindset a little bit, I don't want to speak for them, but from my mindset, why I like it is because I think it all goes back to how you treated the art. People look at other people who are not ventriloquists who treat the art respectfully with a suspicious eye, because it's like that doesn't fit how we're normally treated, and they're curious as to the mindset. So I think that's why people wanted to hear the director's commentary, because they're so appreciative of the respect that you showed the art form.
Good, yeah. I hope it comes through, because I do truly respect it and love it. It brings out the 8-year-old in me.
Yes. All right, last question. I got to ask, because you brought this up at the top, and I think this is perfect to wrap it up. Weird wrap-up question, but you mentioned the length. Why is the documentary length so specific?
When we had our theater company in Chicago, Stage 2, I always had a kind of a slogan or a way of looking at it, which was get them in and get them out,
Mm-hmm.
And don't make things go on and on and on and on, unlike my answering of questions. So,
no, I love it.
So the documentary is a very specific link, because I wanted people to get a taste of a lot of different things, and then if they wanted to explore it, one of the things that's interesting is ventriloquists would say to me, how come there isn't more about the museum or the history or this or that? And my answer always is, I made this for me and the general public. I didn't make this for you guys. You want the Ken Burns 8-part series.
Yeah.
That's fine. You go make that. But that's not what this is. This is 90 minutes, approximately 90 minutes. I want them to see it and to say, I want more. I want more. And that was my goal, is I want to leave them wanting more, which is good comedy, which is good public speaking, which is good everything,
Yes.
Leave them wanting more. So that's the approach I took to the documentary, and I love the link. It's still, I hadn't watched it in several years at least, probably 3-4 years, before I had to go back and refresh myself for the director's commentary and the extras and everything. And I was like, you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. There is no director's cut of this coming. There is no director's cut. It is the length I wanted, and it is the length that will stay.
It is a length, and when you first released it, you left us wanting more, and now several years later, you're giving us more. A 2-disc set, over 2 hours of bonus features, plus a director's commentary. Check it out at Vent Haven, and if you're not going to get to Vent Haven, it will be released. You can order it on Amazon, but it will be released in September. What date in September?
September 29th. They can pre-order it now.
Pre-order now.
And again, if you want to keep in touch, hit us on Facebook, like the I'm No Dummy page on Facebook, and you'll get more content, more information, all sorts of wonderful stuff.
All leading up to that wonderful day, September 29th. All right, Brian, I can't wait to see you next week, or, well, at the time that we're airing this in just a couple of days, but we're recording this about a week out. See you very soon.
We'll see you in a couple days, Matt.
See you in a couple days, Brian. My thanks again to Brian. I cannot wait to see you in just a couple of days. Oh boy, here's the part where we go off script. Don't click away just yet, and we'll get to the season sponsors and the pitch about what I'll have at Van Haven in a minute. I realized last week, with all the hoopla of Lance Burton and Mark Waid coming on and having a 2-episode week, I realized we passed last week our 2nd anniversary of this podcast. And I know that I've done many, many seasons in there, between taking breaks and doing all of these things. But we've been doing this now for 2 years. Thank you for that. I know that when I started, I made sure that you guys knew how dumbfounded I was every single week. I've been doing some archiving of some certain things with some of the older episodes recently, and I've been going back, and it's just been interesting that every week I just thanked you entirely over the top, and that love, that place of love where that came from is still there. I know I may not say thank you every single week, but I mean it. You guys have taken this show and, dare I say, me to heights and to places I never could have dreamed. I mean, Lance Burton on my show, Terry Fader on my show, Mark Wade on my show, Neil Bacon on my show, all of you on my show. You know, who would have thought? And I certainly didn't. And to now have a site where we're selling products, and this isn't a pitch, I'm just kind of, giving you the bird's eye view of it from my aspect and from my vantage point. It blows me away every single day that I get to wake up and do something in the realm that has to do with this podcast or with ventriloquism, and that I'm on my way to this being a job, a career, whether in broadcast or vent or wherever it takes me. You guys started me on a great adventure 2 years ago, and I could not be more grateful. Can you tell I'm not looking at a script? I'm just looking at a thing that says second anniversary. Thank you. Because I just wanted to speak from the heart. And so to everybody out there who has listened and supported from day one when we were Ventriloquism Weekly, thank you. To everyone who sent me words of encouragement when I was banging my head against a wall when we decided to do the name change. And to those of you who may not agree with the name change, thank you. You make me a better person, a better content provider, and you make the show better. And I hope that we will continue to do this for 2 more years. We're the second anniversary, 2 more years, 4 more years. However long you want this stuff, I'll keep doing it. So thank you, and let's have fun at the convention. I can't wait to get out behind this computer screen and thank you personally. Now, I got to tell you, I got to do it. I have to tell you, I told you last week, I have to tell you what I'll have at Van Haven this year. I don't have enough to have a booth yet, but our season sponsor, Axtel Expressions, will have the sit stand available. As you know, it is available exclusively through them. They'll have it at their booth. And also at their booth, I'll be set up just a little bit. I won't be there all the time, but I'll have some forms that you can pre-order the official Talk for Two t-shirts, and I'll be wearing my t-shirts a day or two at convention. Now, there'll be forms there, and you'll see a little sign, and you can take a business card. I think we're going to even be cheeky and set it up on a sit stand. I don't know all the particulars yet, but that'll be at Steve Axtel's booth if you want to pre-order a t-shirt. I don't know. I didn't want to invest the money into, getting quantity, and that's not fair to Steve to say, hey, can you sell this and actually sell these units? I said, can we just take pre-orders? And he said, sure. So let me know if you want a t-shirt, pre-order them at the Format Convention, and then once I see what interest that generates, I will put that up on the website. All right? Now, Pete Michaels will have our new DVD, Ventriloquism for Comedy Clubs, at his booth, and we're very proud of it because there's nothing out there like it for vents. Pre-order now at talk42.com and pick it up next week. All right? Put it in the memo that you're going to get it, or if you want me to ship it. We will start shipping things the week after convention. All right? And please, if you haven't signed up for a time to chat with me and you're coming to Van Haven, click on the link below. Next week, there's 2 different things here. Next week, puppeteer John Hardman will be here to talk about his incredible life, and those Vent Haven conversations will begin the following week on Monday, July 27th. Now, a thank you again to our season sponsors, the Tangent Bound Network. They are our servers, and they are the reason that all 77 episodes are back online. I don't want to say that they're in iTunes. They are, but iTunes is experiencing a glitch. This was explained to me by some podcasting people, that iTunes is experiencing a glitch where only the most recent 20 episodes are available. That's them. That's not us. If you want all 83 now, to take a look at all 83, go to talk4two.com. But the reason they're up is thanks to the Tangent Bound Network. And to our season entertainment sponsors, I wonder, somebody, take a drink of soda every time I say his name. Axtel Expressions. Steve Axtel creates some of the coolest characters available. Head over to axtel.com and check it out. You can find all you need to know about Talk for Two by going to that website I just mentioned, talk4, spell out 2.com. Reach out by emailing talkfortwocast@gmail.com, and find our group on Facebook by searching Talk for Two, and tweet us and about us using @ and hashtag talk42, TALKFORTWO. Very important. The website is the only one that uses the number, okay? Signing off for Talk for Two, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two. I will see you in 2 days, people.